I think you know who I am by now, but my name is Roger Connor, and I'm the director of the graduate school at Carleton. Very nice to see you here, and I always say to a visiting lecturer that having done this so many times, that you always try and think, well, sometimes there's a crowd, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's another game going on in the city or something, and you don't get a crowd. And Gisle Lokken, who is our speaker tonight, said, well, if they don't come, really it's a pity. They will miss something. And I think that's the point. We are here together, and we receive it. And I think that's really very important. I'd like to thank David McRoby and his wife, who are sitting there in the audience. I have a script which I will read because it's very much like a script that you would get for Gisle too, but it's in another way. Founded in 1989, David S. McRoby Architects, 20-person practice of architecture, interior design and urban design, commercial, retail, and institutional clients on a wide range of projects, focused on work, education, recreation, and transportation. I'm sure David would prefer me to say something more interesting about his firm, and I'm sure there are a lot more interesting things to say about his firm, but I'd like to thank him very much thank them for sponsoring this evening. Tonight, we have Gisle Lokken from 70 Degrees North Architects. 70 Degrees North, same as Murmansk. Murmansk, Tromsø, if you need that reference, right at the top. I went there in January last year, and gorgeous, gorgeous little harbour. Gorgeous little wharf right on the sea. Beautiful, beautiful little city. Very lively. And Gisle Lokken, along with a few others. I won't mention the names. You can find all this on the website. But they started this little company in 1995. And I want to just tell you something why I think it's special. Over the weekend, I was in Toronto at the George Baird Symposium. And some of you may know George Baird, and you can guess how Toronto-centric it was. Well, Toronto-Harvard-centric. And there were the usual, Kenneth Frampton was there, Kenneth Frampton, New York. But there was an interesting development in the conversation. Basically, they were discussing what happened in the 1960s in London and the 1970s when a kind of positivism, a kind of rationalism in architecture was balanced by a kind of, let's call it loosely, a semanticism, which would be a certain amount of semiotics, the study of meaning in architecture, which was George Baird's first book with Charles Jenks. 1973. And this meaning in architecture was all about, suddenly architects realized, well, if we understood the century as one of meaning and understand language and the importance of language in architecture, then suddenly we could be producers of meaning, which was, of course, one of Charles Jenks's main tenets, and then went on to make his structural sort of adventures into architecture and into interpreting architecture. But that's not the point I wanted to get at. What I wanted to get at was, after 2 days of you can imagine a lot of grandstanding, a lot of lectures and a lot of name dropping, and we were going from Hannah Arendt to Habermas to Heidegger to Roland Barthes to Jacques Lacan, and they were dancing around these figures. And then towards the end of 2 days, somebody said, well, this is very nice. We're here to celebrate George Baird, but what about the future? And it seemed that suddenly they were in a panic. And don't know whether you know the name, K. Michael Hayes, suddenly, furrowed brow and thinking, oh, the future. And you can imagine these academics, the future. Yes, well, I think it's going to be something, well, and they paused, and you could see that the audience, it's not going to be objects, it's going to be systems. Well, the reason why I mention that is that maybe that's true. There's a certain amount of study about the objects, architecture still as autonomous works, autonomous objects that we build, and you only have to go to Toronto and see the huge condomania in Toronto at the moment. Just cranes everywhere, more than China. But at the same time, the systems and the understanding of systems and the understanding of the architect as an agent, possibly in the social, in the economic sphere, in the environmental, and in the sustainable, for example. And it is why I'm very happy that Gisle Lokken has come here tonight to share with us the range of work that they do in the practice, which can go from a kindergarten, which also has got them a job in Russia now, designing another kindergarten, at the same time as a macro planning project for Malmö in South Sweden, and a systems organization. So I think this is a very important shift, and it's something that I think is going to become more and more. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Gisle, all the way from Norway. He is actually teaching with his wife, 6-week studio in Carlton at the moment, and it's so delightful because there's his wife who's just given birth to a 5-week-old baby, and they're both teaching with the children in the studio. And I think this is a wonderful, wonderful presence, because usually we don't have this. So Gisle, thank you very much for coming, and a warm welcome.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure for us to be here, and my wife Magdalena, she regrets that she could be here, but as Roger explained, there are some logistics connected to this, so we have to take into consideration also. Can you hear it? A little bit louder, a little bit up. A little bit up. Okay.
I think you have to go.
Okay. We try. This is our office, almost. We have one more employed for the moment. It's a quite small office. We have been a little bit up and down, and of course also due to economical changes and fluctuations. We are not really in a financial crisis in Norway, but still we are not completely disconnected from the world. So. Maybe small offices like ours are more fragile when it comes to fluctuations in the market also. I'm happy for the introduction from Roger, because that is really what we try to do. We try to work within a wide range of work, from the big landscapes and to small objects. Maybe we are getting less and less interested in design of small objects, and more interested in what is happening and going on in the big landscapes. And that's, of course, influenced by our position in the north. Here you can see the dotted line is the polar circle, and Tromsø is the red dot, far above the polar circle, and you can see how far north in Canada you get when you get to this height. So it's a special position because the coast of Norway is a warm coast. We are lucky to get the warm water from Mexico coming up all the way along the coast, and makes it ice-free and quite livable. So it was much colder in Ottawa a few days after our arrival. It was down to 20 I think. And I don't think it ever have been that cold in Tromsø. So, I'm just very briefly going through some things we are dealing with in Tromsø, or what the position of the city. Basically, it has been it has been based on fisheries. The fisheries of the north is some of the most or the best fisheries in the world. It's very sustainable fisheries. They have been doing very well the latest years, and I think they even made a new record last year. And that's quite impressive when it comes to when you compare to the substantially amount of fish taken out of the seas. And of course, what we more and more focus on is the resources of the north, the exploitation of oil and gas, or the expectations there are in the north, in the Barents Sea. And you know, of course, a lot about that in Canada. You have oil and gas fields in the north, and north of Alaska, and not at least in Siberia. We are really feeling the pressure of this activity going on. It's increasing every day, and I think it's up to us as architects to sort of be more prepared, be more able to handle these changes or the pressure, taking or the coming up when it is concerning the landscape or the changes in the landscape. Another aspect is there, of course, the indigenous people living in the north. There's not so many, individuals, but there's a lot of different tribes. And in the northern part of Scandinavia, we have the Sami people. And they are quite visible, and it's in the society, and there is a lot of cultural activity also going on both in Tromsø and in the vicinity of Tromsø. Down to the left, there should be a picture from a festival every summer. It's an indigenous festival, gathering musicians and different culture workers from not just the north, but from many places in the world. And of course, it's maybe one of the biggest issues is the global warming, and the reality that the polar ice is melting. For some people, this is is seen as a benefit, that we can start to use these waters as communication. It's a new open ocean that can be used for transportation between east and west, from Western Europe to Eastern Asia. But of course, it has a much bigger impact than that, and especially when it comes to the melting of the inland ice in Greenland, is a quite crucial thing, and it is quite big impact on the living, not just in the north. All these things going on has a global impact, and I think that is what we try to emphasize more and more on. What is going on? The reason for the ice melting is a global phenomenon, and on the other side, the fact that the ice is melting is also influencing in places in the world that is not really directly linked to these things. So Tromsø has become more and more sort of capital of the north when it comes to research, and when it comes to focus on this phenomena. And we have a university there, and also a location of a Polar Institute, and also lately the UN placed, they have a, what do you call it? It's a center of focusing on melting ice, they placed also now in Tromsø. And as you can see, we have some celebrities showing up now and then. It's not just you, Roger. Okay, so in relation to this, we have been, as Roger said, we have been teaching quite a lot the latest years. And the latest semester we had in Bergen Architect School was focusing on the changes in the northern landscapes. It was a really nice studio. We had a long, interesting traveling through the north, and I think the students contributed quite a lot to the research we have started on the changes in the landscape. There are also, for those of you that are interested in these things, that there are plans for starting up studies in landscape architecture in Tromsø in collaboration with the university and the School of Architecture in Oslo. Yeah, and in bottom there you can see the Arctic Frontiers conference. This was a front page of a lecture given this year, but that was also where Roger were invited last year to the conference on changing landscapes in Arctic Frontier Conference. So the way we are working is that we, of course, we have to try to do work that we can make a living out of. That's a hard fact. But on the other hand, we try to be conscious about what we are doing and what kind of work we are making, and also what kind of or try to make concepts around the different projects to make it clearer what we are trying to achieve through these concepts or through these projects. So this is more or less a game, trying to put these concepts up and connect them to different projects, and these are more or less the projects I'm going through today. I'm going through it quite fast, so it won't be really penetrating into the depth of each project, but I try to convey some of the thoughts behind them. So I'm starting out with investigate and cultivate complexity. Complexity is a part of everything we do. Even though we make small objects, we are very conscious about everything being a part of a more complex reality. So I'm starting with the planning process in Greenland, in fact. We were invited a couple of years ago to Maniitsoq. Maniitsoq is a small city of about 3,500 people living located on the polar circle in Greenland. This is the inland ice. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, and we traveled from the extremely cold inland ice. Even though it's melting, it's still quite cold in there, even in summertime, and to the coast where Maniitsoq is located on a small island. This is Maniitsoq in wintertime, and there's a big debate going on in Greenland for a moment on what basis Greenland should, or what the society should base the future on. It's a really small community. It's about 70,000 people living in whole Greenland. Even though the ice-filled part of Greenland is the size of Sweden, and you can imagine how disparted or scattered people are living. The debate is, of course, going on. The process of being more and more independent from Denmark. Greenland has been a colony under Denmark for several hundred years, and that's on the one hand. On the other hand, it's about how to exploit and how to make a living out of the enormous resources that Greenland holds. And this map is just showing the claims for minerals and hydrocarbons. More or less all ice-free land in Greenland has been surveyed, and they are expecting great treasures to be found. And of course that has also something to do with the political situation between Greenland and the independence from Denmark, that Denmark, they don't really want to let Greenland go, because they want to be a part of this economical future. So, not to make the story too long, this is the situation. Maniitsoq is expected to have a new aluminium smelter established from Alcoa. You know, Alcoa is the biggest aluminium producer in the world. And they wanted to make 2 large dams from the melting water from the inland ice and transition lines to Maniitsoq and establish a smelter there. It's an extremely controversial thing to do, because on a political national level it will be a change in the whole. I mean, Greenland has not had any industrial activity on that level before. So if you sort of started on this change, the impact of the economy would be extreme, and also the impact, of course, on the nature. There's a sort of no way back if you start to industrialize these landscapes. So we were invited to come from the municipality. We were really happy to go there, because so far everything had been researched. Everything has been done by the company or by some governmental development office, and the municipality wanted sort of another opinion. As you can see, whole Greenland and also Maniitsoq is very influenced by modern architecture from Scandinavia, wherever it could be. It's also something we could talk a lot about, and also for many years they have been living out of fisheries. The fisheries were not longer running, so there were a lot of empty buildings and warehouses. So when we came there, the situation were more or less like this. It's a quite dense, small, quite urban, in fact, center. And they were expecting the amount of people to come there to be about the doubling of the size of the city. So they wanted then to plan a new city extension outside of the existing city. There are absolute limitations when it comes to the topology of this location. So it had to be sort of about 1 kilometer further out, if it should be possible. We went into Maniitsoq. We spent time there. We did not live there, but we visited several times for about 1 year and made a report and an exhibition. And we started the process of working with people living there, starting to sort of communicate and talk to them and ask what kind of expectations they had for this, and through several processes. And we made some conclusions out of that. This is a concrete thing that they made out of not our plans, but out of their own expectation. They wanted this to be a location for whale spotting, and we made some plans for them, and they built it themselves, and I think it became quite a success. We tried to use this, if you could know about the London-based office MUF. They are working with something they call premature gratification, which is a sort of before or something you give to the people, or something you establish, implement before the plan is really taken into consideration, and you sort of start off with something that people can relate to, that is okay, something is nice, and then they call it a premature gratification before the big plants start to run. We made some studies through photos. This is in fact quite interesting to see how people use the buildings, one-family houses and blocks. They use it, we call it a sort of inside-out image. And also we studied, for instance, how the houses traditionally were located on the rocks, surfaces, cladding, and also how we could start to play with these elements. Of course, we went into the ecology of the city, studying how we could sort of reinvent a new ecological thinking into the city, coming to energy use and not at least the production of groceries. Today, everything eaten in Greenland comes from Denmark, and not everything. They hunt their own meat, but they don't produce any. They don't grow anything in this city. We went into studies of transformation of existing blocks, seeing how they could be reinvented and made into modern and more suitable apartments. Also transforming the facades. And as you can see, we have tried to sort of use the image of how they use the buildings today, using the elements. We went into some center studies, trying to see how we could redevelop the old fishing industry. And this map shows basically an analysis of the existing center structure, the possibility of densifying this structure compared to making a new structure outside the city. And to sort of conclude on that, I think we, through this work, managed to communicate that they have really a lot of space where they are, and it's possible to sort of, it's much more convenient and much better to keep the dense structure of the society today and not spreading it out in the outskirts. So, and we made some examples of how they sort of could do this. It has been it was really nice to be there and work with them, and I think they used the report we made for political discussions, and they continued with this for the whole period after we left Greenland. But I don't know really how they handle it today. Sometimes when you are sometimes in life or sometimes in your practice, you do something, hopefully, that changes attitudes, your own way of seeing things. And that's what we try to do now and then, and try to go into competitions, maybe especially competitions, to sort of push to the extreme of what we can do, some certain way of thinking. And this competition we made in 98 or 99 was an ID competition that had a great impact on our way of thinking and our research. It was a competition about redefining the area between Denmark and Sweden, Copenhagen, Malmö, as a region. It was not meant to be a sort of a fixed plan, but it was meant to be a visionary competition for what they call the 40 years in time. I think most of the other competitors they made plans. They did what the architects do. They made drawings of how the future should look, what it should look like, and we definitely did a totally different thing. We tried to make a strategy of how to analyze the landscape, how to sort of make a strategy for entering into the landscape, and how to make a adaptable plan, and also work, and also a process that accepted and handled and appreciated the complexity there is in these landscapes. And we were lucky we won this competition, and we went into, I'm just showing some images. The first picture is showing the whole project. It's possible to go into this web page and click on every page and enter into more detailed text and images if you want to have a closer look upon. There's an expectation of this area to go from about 3 million people to about 4 million people within some years. And of course, it's a discussion how they should handle this without destroying the area. It is a quite complex area when it comes to culture, and it's also a quite complex area when it comes to natural conditions. Both Copenhagen and Malmö is quite different. Even though it's in Scandinavia and it's maybe assumed to be quite the same, there is really different political system, and there's also quite different economical conditions. So and then that have made a sort of dynamic movement through or between Copenhagen and Malmö for some years. So we try to go in and see, try to sort of map the underlying cultural levels, not the obvious or not maybe the picture that maybe especially the Copenhageners want to show of their own city as a sort of completed and quite a successful place, and try to lift up and show the more hidden layers of the cities and what is existing there. Following this and different lines and different tracks, and of course we looked a lot into the more complex connections between things, and try to make pictures out of the more rhizomatic way of thinking and the more rhizomatic way of following different thoughts and different lines, and how this connects, or not connecting, but how this influences other lines. We also made a vocabulary that is not necessarily connected to the obvious way of talking about planning. This is not exclusively done for this project. It's something we have done before also, to try to communicate closer to the people you are planning for, also to make a sort of a common language or common vocabulary for what we are doing. Not excluding, but for including people into the discussion, into the debate. In this process, we were working a lot with also the movement. We call the region an anti-generic in comparison with the places in the world that are more generic, like many fast-growing Asian cities, for instance, and say that the qualities in the area is really the differences. And then we try to make a connection between many of these different places, and this is a map showing connecting of different speeds from the train system to the bike system to the walking system and so on. And this also start to be overlapping and also quite rhizomatic. And this is on the most local level, where you can see all stations are connecting, and we managed to sort of go down to specific walking distances through different from one station to another station and so on. Another method we used is zooming in and zooming out of the landscape, trying to find out what is there. and what things are, and the needs we have to change things, and the elements we have to change, and then make a zoom out again and see that the picture slowly changes when you do these exercises. It's quite a fascinating way of working. We invited in a lot of experts of different kind. We try to work in this kind of competition. We try to work multidisciplinary, use experts in different disciplines to sort of work in our or into our work. So we did this time also, and especially when it came to considering nature qualities, considering energy, transforming some sort of energy into some other, in fact, in the Malmö region you have a nuclear power plant that is quite disputed, and they want to close it down. And we worked a lot on how to find ways to make this possible, to get new sources of energy instead of the old nuclear power plant. And also the production lines in the agriculture, the production of farming, or the farm production. And it's fascinating to see when you start to go into the numbers and start to do these things, exercises, investigation, then you find out that small changes can make a huge impact. And changes in the way you produce food makes it possible to make space for at least 1 million of people within the same area of land. It's quite interesting exercises to do in any occasion. So this is also a map showing or drawing showing changes in nature. It's an area, especially on the Swedish side, that is extensively agricultural land, or run agricultural land, and it's cut. The nature life is really cut off through infrastructure and fields of farms. So and the nature life is suffering out of these disconnections. It's not necessarily that the areas or the forest and so on has to be bigger, but the connections between them has to be re-established. So we are also working quite a lot on that and see how it was possible to sort of make new corridors for wildlife. And of course, one of the most important parts of this investigation is also the transition between land and the sea. It's a very polluted sea between Sweden and Denmark in this area. So, yeah, I'm just pointing on. I can't point on the map. I will come back to that. But in Copenhagen, you have a landfilling in the northern part of Copenhagen that you will recognize on some of the next images. That we went into a new competition. And now I'm going to show 2 projects emphasizing on more the waterfront ecology. And in Copenhagen, you have for 60 years or something had this leading image of they call the finger plan, showing quite literally how the city should grow along fingers out in the vicinity, and then how the green should sort of come into the city. This has been, even though it has never been completed or a law or plan, it has been a sort of leading image for architects and planners for many, many years. And they still talk quite a lot about that in Copenhagen. So we turned it and made a small hand towards the sea, and made 5 fingers for these landfillings that has been industrial. It's been a location for industry for many, many years. And the northernmost of this was called Nordhavn, and it was a big competition in 2009. And the for a city extension. They had really great plans for this area. This is more or less what we made as a concept. We were working with the park. We sort of took the opposite position of how plans very often are made, making a central park. We made an ex-central park and called it the ex-central park edge dynamics, as a sort of emphasizing the importance and the value of the edge, or the transition between land and sea again, and how this ecological zone has to be sort of given back to the people. We also made an archipelago of biodiversity outside the existing landfilling. They wanted us to make an extension of the existing landfilling as almost the size as the existing one, and we said that okay, but we can do that, but we don't want to build on that. We want it to be a more experimental area and sort of regaining the water ecology. And we made a pattern that connects. We call it, this is a more rhizomatic way of thinking again, more strategy for how the city could grow. Of course, in our opinion, and I mean, everyone knows that you can't make a plan for 40 years or 50 years. It will never be like that. It will be outdated within the moment you made it. And again, we try to make strategies for how the city could grow. And one of the strategies was also something we call the points of departure, how we sort of should enter an area. I will come a little bit back to that. We worked a little bit on the same concept, making text, making headlines of what we are working with. And this ex-central park, of course, became one of the most important elements in the plan. So what we said was that, okay, instead of selling out the best part of the plan, we say that this is a sort of this is a common land. It's a common that everyone should benefit out of. And again, if you do that, you make shorter distances between where people are living and where the park is, and you make and in a city like Copenhagen, the coastline is the most valuable part. Of course, it is. That's where everyone wants to be. And instead of building in these parts, we could make a program of all kind of outdoor activity that this area should have, which also included outdoor areas for schools, for kindergartens, and so on. Yeah, we also used this outer line of the project as a sort of a barrier for the expected rise in sea level. Yeah, and we made a lot of investigation on the ecology, the existing one, and also the expected, or here we worked with experts on these matters again. And we made a program for the whole line. This is showing, the upper one is showing a line 100 meter onshore and 100 meter blue line offshore. And the lowest one is the archipelago on the outside of the project. So it's not a detailed programming. It's more an open program. It's saying what kind of activity that this park could bear, and what kind it should have, and what sort of what kind of conceptual thinking it should develop. And this competition went in 2 phases, and in the second phase we also invited in further experts to work on the plan, in the plan. And this is some development of the plan that is done by a very good Danish architect, landscape architect, Christine Jensen. Because it's such enormous area, and there's a lack of soil in Copenhagen. You can't just fill up 1 meter all over. You have to make the precise intervention in each part of this park area. You have to find out what is the condition and what do you want to do in this area, what do you want to achieve, and then you have to do what's needed to achieve what you want. And this is something she called a pixel park, which means that she sort of went into it like a pixelated picture and did what was exactly necessary to develop each part of this park area. This is just a small example. I think it became a really nice project out of that. And we used another landscape architect, a very good young Swedish architect, for the outer part. And this is also quite special because the plan was to fill up this archipelago with limestone from the subway, drilling new tunnels all the time in Copenhagen, and they didn't know where to put it, so they wanted to put it here. And of course limestone is nice, but it has some limitation when it comes to what kind of vegetation you can have there. So she did a quite nice research on what kind of vegetation you could have there. And we of course went into all kind of other studies. And this, for instance, shows this is Atkins that made a study on how this area could connect to the overall energy system in Copenhagen, and how it's sort of, it's not just how much the area would use of energy, but how much energy we could produce in this area. So it was not just a zero energy calculation, it was a plus energy calculation. And the point of departure, it contains a lot of different thoughts, but one of these ideas about points of departure is that there are elements in the plan. There's always something in the area that you can get use of, and that there are always parts of the area that will give resistance in the further development of this area. And instead of seeing that as a problem, we said that within, okay, this time span of 30, 40, 50, 60 years, we need some elements of resistance to sort of form the plan in the future. So we found someone, we created someone, and we tested out different possibilities within the plan, and we also had quite a good connection on, and interviewed some of the neighbors. There are a lot of engaged neighbors into this area. And finally we tested out the basic ideas of the plan in some how it could sort of develop as an experiment, not because we needed to do it, but because the jury demanded us to do it. We did not really want to do that, but the jury said that, but we have to. They really needed to see what it could look like. So we also took one line and said, okay, this line could be the first. We don't know, but this could be a line that could be developed. And then we pointed out some points along this line and made some examples of how it could look. This inner point is the most dense urban part of it. Then we jumped to the outer point of the end of the line and said that, okay, this is almost possible to create a new biotope out there. There's a lot of birds in the area, and it's possible to make this a water biotope. It is expected that this area also will be developed as a housing area, but maybe in 30 years you'll find out that this has become such an important part of the plan that we don't really want to change this. So instead of saying that okay, the idea of building houses all the way is going to be the leading or absolute thing. The strategy of the plan says that it is possible to change this. We tested out another part, seeing how this could be, a more dense part of the plan in the middle, and the last one is a more open canal system. There are some canals and things in the area today. And finally, we asked again some architects to test the plan, because the jury said that they didn't really believe that they said, okay, the plan, it looks nice with this structure, the lines that connects, the pattern that connects, but this is, we don't really see how it could be. So we invited again in some brilliant architects to test the plan. We just gave them the concept and said, okay, can you do this? Keep the density, show us what it could be. And this is Dr. Mandrup that made an excellent example of how it was possible to enter into this plan. It was really exciting to work with, and we were in the first phase, we were 1 or 3 winners in this competition. And we tried to take this further into new competitions. This is a competition in Drammen. It's a small, or not so small, city south of Oslo. They have a river crossing or departing the city, and they have parts of this river shore that is not really developed as anything. So we try to test out this the city again on some of the same methods, see what it's sort of needed as a new program, and see what it contained and what it contained and what it could need, and how we could sort of use these elements into a new reality. And of course the ecology or the ecosystem and the ecology in this transition zone is as important here. And we made a lot of models and studies on it. And the whole idea here was to create an urban character of a totally different kind, not building to the shoreline, but say that this is could be a really nice park land, and it could belong to the whole population of this city, and it could be something different from what they maybe in the beginning expected. We did not win this competition. I think they went for the one product that sort of built to the edge of the river. Okay, rediscover lost landscapes. I'm showing one small project, just a small project we made or we're still working on in Tromsø. It's this classic situation of landfilling. You can see up to the left, you can see there's a fat line on the map showing the edge of the landfilling. And that's the reality of the Tromsø is an island, and the whole western or eastern part, the eastern part of the island is a continuous landfilling. So there's not so much original shoreline left. So what we said, we have a really nice botanical garden in Tromsø, showing plants from different sort of extreme parts of the world. It's really beautiful. And we wanted to we started to collaborate with these people to sort of see if it was possible to create a new botanical garden, sort of, in this part of, or close to the sea. And they got quite interesting, and we did a similar investigation as what kind of possibilities there were. So basically we studied plants and different living species, and together with these people we made this map and this sea park, and showing what kind of species that could live in different zones of the sea park. And we also made for the part of the site that was supposed to be built, we also made gardens, or an idea of different gardens that could be developed with different species related to what kind of northwest, southeast direction they were facing. In Tromsø, the sun is never going higher than 43 degrees, so it's quite important to also catch the sun, and if you towards the south, it's possible to grow almost anything, but of course towards north, it's the opposite. There's almost nothing that can grow. So it's you have to sort of know a lot about different species and the conditions they are demanding. Okay, and this is jumping a little bit, but now I'm going to show projects we did with students in Bergen as a sort of a prolongation of this investigation we did in the competition. Malmö is an old industrial city, and they shut down the shipyard in 30 years ago, and the city went into sort of depression and decline, and they revitalized when the bridge to Copenhagen was built 10 years ago or something, 15 years ago, and now Malmö is really a dynamic and livable city. And we tried to make this section from the old shipyard to gentrification area in the old part of Malmö to Rosengård. Rosengård is a part of the 1 million housing program in Sweden. It's an area that is often in the news because of problems, riots. There's 150 or something nations living there in a small area, 20,000 people, and it's seemingly there's a lot of conflicts going on. And of course this huge traffic junction, this is the main road going from Europe to Stockholm, and it's amazingly how much space this road system occupies, and that is also a part of what we are trying to be more conscious about. It's not just the exploitation of resources, but also the occupation of land and what we use the land for. And in the end also where the city ends up in the farmland. So we call this deleterial urbanity and dynamics of small cultures, gardens of urban delights, peripheric transition, and emotional ecology. And altogether this is sort of formed, it's a little bit popular thinking, but it's a sort of a DNA of Malmö. So this is just some examples from what the students work. This is a student that worked with this Westhavn, this former shipyard, and made a new ecology outside this area and tried to make it also multi-program on it, and both as an ecological thing but also as a recreational area for the people in Malmö. And this is Møllevangen. It's a quite dense area with blocks, and the student, she investigated all the empty spaces, all the hidden spaces in this area. It's a typical area with defined blocks. You're just following the streets, and she found out, of course, that there's a lot of hidden space in these areas, and she tried to find methods of opening up and taking into more public use of these spaces. And this is a garden project in Rosengård. The student made analysis of the green space. This is a typical modernistic area with a lot of green space, in fact, but it's not really usable. It's divided between pathways and transport lines and blocks and so on. So she tried to implement a new way of thinking green space in this place, also inspired by this urban farming movement and other ways of thinking. And in this traffic junction, these students, they wanted to sort of confront this area with the program or use that this area was not meant for, and see if it was, for the first, if there were qualities in this area that people didn't see, and secondly, if it was possible to make use of the area for a different purpose that it was definitely not meant for. And they made quite interesting studies, and they also made a site on Google Maps that is possible to go into. Still, I think it's called A Sunny Day on Fredriksberg. And as you can see, you can both pick berries and you can do sunbathing in this area if you want. And if finally this student made some investigation of the sort of the lost water system of the farmland in the outskirts of the Malmö. Okay, so this next project, they are showing something about what you often work a lot about is the section of a project. The section of a project is as important as the plan. It's a sort of something you try to tell also students that they should make interesting sections. Section can tell. You should never show an interesting section. Then it's better not to do it. This is a housing area just south of the city center of Tromsø. It has a long history because it was initially made a study of new urban or development sites in Tromsø around 1995. And it came out of the idea of that the city didn't have any more space to build on. And that from now you had to build out in the geography or out along the entrance roads to the city and so on. Of course, that was not the reality, and out of this process, that was in fact really interesting, and it was engaging, and a lot of politicians were really engaged also in the process. One of the pieces, we call it the game of Tromsø, was and on top of a parking system, we made an artificial landscape. And also, of course, the walkway along the shoreline. So this project has been going on for about 10 years. That it has been a lot of ups and downs in it. We have made some houses, but for the moment we are not engaged anymore. So there's a lot of building going on there that we are not involved in. But these buildings we have been working with some years ago, and this is sort of the winter situation of Tromsø. It's really important to catch the conditions of the outdoor conditions in this Arctic climate. It's quite it can be quite warm in the sun if you manage to protect from cold winds. So it's a bit quite basic means and small means you can manage to make it quite comfortable outdoor. These projects, they have additionally a winter garden facing south. And we try to also work on this artificial landscape on top of the parking. We might try to make additional greenhouses for the people living there to use. And and this is one of the latest houses we made in this area. And in fact, it was the last one we made. And as you can see in this project, most of all the balconies and terraces, they are redrawn into or cut into the body of the house. It's of course to catch the heat of the sun, and even in early spring, it can be quite warm inside these balconies because they have a roof and they have a protection from walls on two sides. And that's a huge difference from extending balconies on outside the body of the house. So, but finally, there's no gone. It's gone, and some days can be quite nice and warm, and this is also part of the programming of the area. It's partly all kind of different playgrounds and everything. So this is the greenhouses in more summertime. And the last year, we bought our office and the Architect Association in collaboration with this botanical garden and also the biological department at the university and several. We made a project of taking these things in use. It was also a part of the year of architecture in Norway. So there's a lot of people working on this, and this is my daughter 1 year ago, and she was curious about what this could end up with being. And of course, you can almost grow anything in this, even in this climate, if you take the preconditions that is necessary. It was quite a success, and it engaged a lot of people. This is a kindergarten that has where the section is really an important part of the concept of the building. This is a result of a competition we won also in some years ago. And it's also because the Norwegian government some years ago decided to give a kindergarten place to all children in Norway. And I think just in Tromsø, it's just the latest 10 years, I think they have built almost 20 new kindergartens. It's quite a lot. And this, here you can see the sections going from outside, and then you have these entrance zones, and you have a covered outdoor space, and then you enter into a sheltered and protected glass-framed communication area, and then you're coming into the parts of or the core of the kindergarten. Sorry. And then it's a little bit special. This is the first kindergarten we made. And if you can see on the right, this is the system of the kindergarten is more or less given as is a given from the municipality. They have a sort of program they want us to follow, and we have some possibility to interpret this program. So what we made was 2 walls that can be moved in different positions. It was. It's possible to. I'm not sure. I don't have anything to point on, but I think you can see it. That it's possible to change this squared space into many different smaller spaces compared to what you want to do in this space. And these walls in itself, they are programmed and they are made as playing walls. So you can sort of have shelves in there, you can enter them, you can walk through them, and you can play with them in different... this was some of the basic elements we showed in the competition also. And this is how they look. Almost all of them are different. And they can be played with in different ways. And you can play some theater, puppet theater, and you also have a mezzanine, a more closed space for the kids to climb up to. And we also made additional spaces or rooms of different shape, different heights. This is quite a small and narrow room, but it's quite high. So we wanted all these rooms to be different. And this is the innermost part of the kindergarten, where you can gather with the kids and read fairy tales and so on. So we are running fast to optimize the given qualities. This is about having limited conditions and trying to optimize the quality of the situation you're in. This is a small project in an urban situation that is. It has a lot of small apartments. So what we are trying to do here was to say that okay, instead of giving every apartment an individual outdoor space and so on, we try to sort of gather all this space, all this outdoor space, and make a common terrace. And also within the apartment, this is about 25 square meters big, I think. And all these apartments had the huge windows facing at least 2 directions, even though they were really small. And people living here, they use this window quite as a sort of a part of the furnishing of the apartment, sitting in the window and reading and so on. And this is the common terrace showing facing south, even though it's in winter time. It is, it's almost winter, I think. So the sun is going quite low, and this is a possibility to sort of give additional quality to the projects as a common thing, then, not just an individual thing. This is another housing project we finished a couple of years ago on the top of the island. This is much bigger apartments, but they are all, almost all of them are different, and it's also an example of trying to give specific quality into each individual apartment compared to the position in the project. And of course, everything in Tromsø has something to do with the view and the nature, and everyone living there is really obsessed by nature and view. So you can't really make any housing project in Tromsø without giving the apartment a spectacular view. What you can see here is that many of these apartments, some of them are quite big, and they are facing several directions. So the second or the 1, 2, 3, 4th floor at the end is one apartment, and it's even going up to the 3rd floor in the front. So it's facing all directions. And you can see some of them are also double high. And this is my favorite room. This is a sleeping room in one of the apartments, and I know for sure that the ones living in the opposite block facing this, they are a little bit annoyed because they don't really want to look into this bedroom at night. But they don't. I know these people living there, and they don't really care. And this is also one of the bigger balconies facing westwards. Yeah, and I've shown just one competition that we were invited to do. It's about a new library in Oslo a couple of years ago. It's about integrating elements into the project, and this is quite a dense urban situation, and some of you probably know the opera in Oslo. It's in the background here, and we made today there's a main road going through this site, but they are demolishing this road, and it's supposed to be give the site for this new library. And what we worked quite a lot with here was both the combination of water, of course, and nature into the building. And we try to make this urban natural elements as an integrated part of the building. This is from the children's library. And this is also showing a section of trees going through the building. Yeah, I'm not going further into it, but just show one model photo of one of these library towers. And I'm showing you one small project. We were invited to Victoria and Albert in London a year ago or something for a small exhibition project they had. And it was about making specific small projects in different parts of the museum. I'm not sure if you know Victoria and Albert Museum in London, but it's an old building. It's not really easy to go in there and do anything. It's I'm not sure when it's built, but probably in Victorian time. And we were given the site in there's a small garden, but the garden is really regulated, and it's not really a garden the way we think about it, but there are some trees. And what we wanted to do was to sort of twist or give this illusion of entering a small space or entering into something that looks really small, but on the inside having the illusion of being eternal. And of course, mirrors are really nice to work with. And we made this mirror box on the inside that should be mirroring this one tree. We placed the box around the tree, and on top of the grass growing there. You're not touching the grass, you just walk on the strings. And these mirrors, they are sort of endlessly mirroring or making a big forest out of this one tree trunk. And we made another one, we call the Endless Sea. There was a small pond in this area. I'm not sure if you can see anything of this, but and we made some of the same, but this was slightly different. So it was duplicating the image of the water onto the walls and onto the roof, and also the floor. The floor was plexiglass. I'm showing one small project. It's a small cabin we made many years ago, but it's a really low budget project. We made it for my own family, and but still it has something to do with this attitude towards being in the nature, and sort of making the most optimize the context you're building in. Either it is in an urban context or it is in a landscape context. So this place is just 40 square meters big, and it's really basic. And but the point is that when you're there, you should sort of have the feeling of being outside, even when you're inside. And of course, the weather can change quite a lot in these places, and sometimes it's and very often you are inside, and then for me it's really important to get this feeling still of being a part of the landscape and a part of the nature. And I'm showing this one also. It's also a competition we were invited to do. We didn't win it, but we came sort of to the second prize in it. It's in Lofoten, south of Tromsø. It's a very specific islands. It's really some place to visit if you want to make a visit to Norway sometimes. Very special light conditions. A lot of artists, for instance, going there working because of the specific light conditions. And this is in fact the golf club in this area. It's quite remote, but it's a lot of people coming there just to play golf, and they wanted to build a hotel. And of course, in the first place, or the first thought is that this place should not be built at all. It's really beautiful, and the landscape is quite vulnerable, and we won't build anything there. But of course, when you start to look closer on it and decide that, okay, we want to take part in the competition, then we start to investigate how can we enter this landscape. And our idea was to work with how do we place the different elements of the hotel on the landscape, how do we impose it on it, and how do we get specific qualities out of every hotel room. I think it was about 80 rooms, and we worked a lot on giving every hotel room a specific quality, so that it should be possible to come back the next year and get another one and that giving another experience. So this was the basic concept we delivered. It was a lot of hotel rooms and also a public or restaurant and a small shop at the right. This is just one plan showing or giving an impression of this being similar or more or less similar spaces or rooms. And of course also the way you walked to these different rooms was quite important. It was a glassed entryway, and it was really connected to the landscape. And we made studies of how this could be stuck together and how this sort of could make an entity out of these different rooms. And this is just a small part of it. But you can see here also the entryway on the first floor is sort of going into or crossing through the construction of rooms. And some of the rooms were facing the big view of the landscape, and some were sort of facing the details in the landscape. And these are just some images showing parts of it, the entryways, and how it could look in the landscape, and the passages and how you sort of moved up and down the different without blowing away any parts of the rocks, but just entering on top of it. And this is one of the views from one of these hotel rooms. And the whole idea was that the bed should be sort of in the middle, and you should be exposed it should be low. And I think that's also a part of the exploration or the impression you get when you're coming into this kind of spaces, that the furniture should be you should sit on the floor. That's what we do in my cabin. You sit almost on the floor, and that gives a totally different expression of or impression of the light coming in from the ceiling or in from the heaven. And also in these areas, in winter time, it's quite fascinating because very often there are northern light, and you can also have a great experience of the northern light. So this is some renderings or images from the exterior. You can see it's more or less folding along these rocks, seen from the sea. And this is also a view just seen from the top cafeteria or the bar area. Okay, then we're rushing to the end of this lecture, and this one we called to sort of maximize enjoyment and minimize impact. It's a little bit of the same thought. Many of these projects could fit into many of these categories, so it's not really important, but I think it has something to do with that. It's called Tovdalshalsen. It's a part of a quite extensive program that the Norwegian road authorities have been doing for 15 years now, I think. You probably know about it. I think it has been published and exhibited all over the world. And these projects we made, they have been published in enormous amount of magazines. This is a former road ban that now have been cut off, and they wanted to use this as a rest area for buses coming here and of course also cars. So the idea was to make a situation that could keep or make a small private space for each individual, and at the same time give a collective experience from many people coming there. And also it was oriented in a way that could sort of expose these more private places for the sun and the heat from the sun, using materials that also are darker and catching the heat, and at the same time protecting from winds coming from the north. Sorry. So this is more or less what it looks like. It's one simple construction, and the floor is more or less going up and down and forming benches and tables and so on. So the interesting thing here is also that you are crossing, when you are entering the area, and the parking area on the right side here, you're crossing through this construction. And this is just a picture showing special sun conditions in the area. And the final projects I'm showing is projects in the same program. It's like a small house for bikers, located on an extremely exposed site, north in Lofoten, facing north. And the idea here was to sort of take in the whole surrounding of the location. As you can see on the outside, you're exposed to or you can see the endless sea, and on the back side you can see the mountains. So what we were making here, for the first, it has to be extremely solid. It had to be, it should be standing through the winter storms, and the winter storms here are extremely strong. And there's a shelter in an entrance in the first basement, and then you're entering up a narrow staircase, and even the upper space is as a sort of a continuous staircase from the lower part that is quite high ceiling, and up to the upper part to the right that is much lower, and you have to sort of sit. Here you can see a section, and here you can also see the sitting staircases. And this column, so it's not really a column, it's more what do you call it? The construction system is closed within cardboard, and it's not really walls, but it's sort of defining different spaces within the main space. So you can see here, even though it's not so big, it is possible for people that don't know each other to sort of come in here and find their own place to sit and to rest within this space. So and this is the final image of it, showing also the surroundings on the back side. So this is a fascinating site because you can be here all day and all night and follow the sun turning at 360 degrees. Okay, I think this is more or less what I wanted to present for you. It's a section through our production the latest 10 years or something. And this is more or less the way we want to work. And even though we are, as I said, also want to extend our focus towards the north even more than we have done before. So thank you.
What a stunning presentation. What a stunning set of works. I can't believe, we haven't got that much time, so I'm going to ask some questions, I know, because some of you are rushing off. But Gisle, you showed an office of barely 7 people, and yet you've shown work that I have seen in a bigger office, better than a quality of a bigger office. How have you created this over such a period?
I think it's all about having pleasure in what you're doing and curiosity towards what you want to achieve. That you should sort of we don't want to we don't do a lot of money. Of course we don't. It takes too much time to investigate, and it takes too much time to to produce what we are producing. But I think you have to sort of have pleasure in what you're doing. It has to be fun doing what you're doing. If not, it's not worth doing it.
Presumably you have 6, 7, 8, 9 projects in the office at the same time, ranging from something as exquisite as this to a macro planning idea or the studies you're doing. Are you continually invited from different authorities or different clients to do both things? Have the studies led to more work in this area, for example, Malmö?
I would like to say that it had, but not really, not as much as we hope for, because I think sometimes we are maybe considered a little bit, it's a little bothering working with us. It's too much questioning and it's too much process in a way, and then I think we have some offices in the city that they are more hands-on. They're doing what they asked, and they don't ask any questions, and they just do what they are asked to do. And I think the most commissioners, they don't really want the process. They don't really want to have questioned the program and the attitude behind the project and so on. So now we are not really invited into too many processes like that. We'd like to say that we are, but we are not. No. Some in Greenland was an example of that. No. In fact.
Can you say something about the kindergarten in Russia? You were telling me that you were doing.
That is it's an experiment. We have never been working in Russia before. It's just a couple of months ago we were invited to Germany in the first place to take part in a presentation of kindergartens, and the invitation was on basis on this one, that they had seen this one in magazines and they wanted this one. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with Russia, but somehow I think they also are much more, they take what they want in a way, and this is what we want, and they are eclectic also, they're picking a little bit, and so somehow we are now invited to do some preliminary work on these kindergartens, and I have no idea how it will end, and I don't have any.
Where is it?
In Moscow, in fact. But they have plans. They have plans for building a lot of kindergartens and schools, community centers and everything. But they were really specific on what they wanted. So maybe that could be, at least we take it's a chance. We have nothing to lose. And we also give away things because we get some contacts because of, for instance, the kindergartens. People are curious, and we also got some email from somewhere in the Caribbean. Some people there working on kindergartens, and they really wanted some of this, and then we said, okay, you can have it. So we sent it. So
you send the drawings to the Caribbean.
Drawings, yeah. So and we said you can do whatever you want with it. You probably you are capable of making something nice. And they were really.
Please, if anyone would like to question, I can carry on for a few more minutes, but please come to the microphone. One thing that struck me very much also was the range of communication in your drawings, which was fantastic to see. We are used to it to some extent from different type of practices, but you seem to be able to go really to cover the range of a different type of communication, whether it's section, whether it's matrices in terms of studies. How has that developed over the years, and do you have a kind of a steady steady small office of 5 or 6 that know the process of working, that are coming in and out with you.
I could have shown different other products that could emphasize this even further, but now we really, for the moment, I think we're really happy with the people working in our office, and I think everyone is sort of contributing to this and adding their own interpretation into it. So, and I think this is the way it has to be in a small office, at least, that people have to sort of feel that they are giving some of themselves into the projects. And they are also really they are skilled in graphics, and they are capable of producing. You don't have to tell them how to sort of present it. And I'm really grateful for that. It takes time to achieve that. So, but I think it has it has something to do with skills also, and also to develop your own skills in presentation and see how would you. I mean, it's often we see something that we like, and often we see something that we don't like, and maybe the most times we feel that this is not really communicating to us, and this is not really something I can like it at all. And then it's about developing your own means and developing your own understanding how things should be, and try to achieve that, and do your best in a way. And through different means, because I'm not a 3D person. But I really like to make models. That's really my tool in a way, and I think for me it's much faster to make a model. And sometimes we really use models and take photos and make and computerize it also. That's also a method.
I noticed you worked. I mean, you said that you worked with other architects. Does it mean sometimes that your practice expands to take on bigger projects or invited projects? How does that sort of interrelationship work with other architects?
It's a challenge to work with other architects, and I think today we are more and more forced into collaboration that we really don't want in the beginning, because there's so many invited competition, or you have to I'm not sure what to call it. It's also what do you call it when you have to apply for taking part in a competition, and then it's always these teams combining a lot of competence, and not necessarily a lot of competence, but a lot of big names. If there's a Forster, or if there's someone big, then they get the job, because every municipality and they think that okay, then we get the best. But it's not like that. It's much better to sort of challenge young people, eager people, to sort of use their talents to develop things. And I've seen so many examples of that, you get so much more out of challenging people that are eager to come a long way, and then not these established star architects and so on. And I think it's a problem when it comes to cooperation, that you are forced into a cooperation that you don't really want in the beginning. The ones we have done, at least on the competitions I showed, that is collaborations that we have chosen ourselves, because we have managed to work well together and develop things together. So
you said at the beginning that possibly you are moving away from, let's say, the object as an autonomous environment and the systems. Yet at the same time, you have some exquisite housing, and presumably you've got the housings going on, the projects are going on at the moment. So how do you just find it's a shift in the way you work?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me getting old. I don't think we managed to come as far as we want to come with the small objects, or with the housing, or the built objects, because if you should achieve a lot, then you have to have a really good relation to the developer, and you have a sort of, you need to develop a common understanding of what you want with the project, and that is really difficult, because in the end it's always the money that sort of define the quality of a project, and that's not up to us. So what I try to say is maybe that I'm a little bit tired of fighting for things all the time. That is, for me, obvious, because it has something to do with the quality, and it has nothing to do with my opinion and my preferences. It's sort of it's so easy to point on the objective quality of doing this, and still they don't go for it. So I think, and maybe it's more important, and I think it's more interesting, and it has so enormous impact. The sort of the forces that are entering our landscapes for the moment, and I'm quite worried about it because we don't have any tools to handle it. So I think it's so big need for developing a language, developing tools and resistance against these global forces that are sort of invading the northern territories. I think it's the same in Canada.
So presumably some of the images you have shown tonight, we don't really know the struggle you've taken with the developers to get some of these through.
No, it's not visible.
But I guess they were there. Okay, last question. Architects don't often live in their own buildings, but you live in your own building, don't you?
Yeah, but that's a special building, though. So it's a sort of a prefabricated building. It's an experiment of simple building.
And what is it like living in your own building?
I try to always to make architecture a way that I want to. I mean, I've done a lot of housing, and I always think, would I like to live here? And if you can go through the project and see, okay, I can live in this apartment, I can live in this, I can point on the qualities and say that this is a specific quality of this apartment or this house, and I say, okay, this is the way I want to have it, and then I think it's okay. Yeah, I like living there.
It's a very nice space, actually. I did have dinner there, and it's beautiful, absolutely, and everything is on the floor. Last question. What is the most exciting project you're working on at the moment?
Oh, for the moment, that's a big. I think I should almost like to spend another half an hour on that, but in fact, we are doing an investigation for a municipality even north of Tromsø, and it's a national project, but it has to do with analyzing the landscape and trying to analyze the qualities of the landscape. And even though there are, it's difficult to explain this in a few words, but I think we are lucky to have this job, and we are going to work on it for a year, and we really, really want to come far in this investigations to sort of try to find a method, try to find a system to analyze landscapes that is not just cut down to numbers, because everything is not down to numbers. You have this grades or numbers from 1 to 10, and everything is sort of has to fit into these systems. And everything we have been working with the latest 3, 4, 5 years is the totally opposite of that. And this is what we want to come far on, to make it a sort of to show that this is another way of thinking, and it is the only way of thinking, because you can't make qualities like nature qualities. You can't define it in numbers. You can't say this is a nature quality in number 3 or on a level 3 or 5. Because that's what the politicians want. They want it to be like that, because then they can say, or it's even more simple, because they want it to be high, medium, or low quality. And if it's defined as a medium, low, or low quality, then it's possible to sell it out. Then we can build a road there, or then we can build a factory. So it's so extremely difficult to make this a functional system in a way. So that is the most important thing we are working on for the moment.
What difference would it make to have a book published on your work?
Sorry,
What difference would it make to have a book published on your work?
A book? Oh, we have been planning a book for 10 years, and every year I'm glad it didn't come last year.
Okay, well, Gisle, thank you very much for coming.